Good morning, gang. So you ever have a dream and wake up from a dream that it's more or less keeps you awake? You kind of feel like you need to get something done, um, like you need to do something about something that was delivered to you in a dream or something that you dreamed about. So that happened last night, and I ended up getting up and writing it down. And I'm sure this is going to sound like the ravings of a madman, but after giving it more thought, I think there's some science to substantiate what I was dreaming about. So I don't recall where I was. I know I was in a store playing catch with some guy with a frisbee, and he had all this shit all over him, just like knickknacks and stuff hanging off of him, and like lights and toys and all this madness. And I would catch the frisbee and throw it back, and each time he would lunge for the frisbee, he's got so much shit going on that he would drop half the things he's holding to go for the frisbee. So I don't know about dream interpretation. I think that has something to do with my personality more than likely. But he had this light on him. It was like a tube light, maybe 24 inches long, and it would display a bunch of different color patterns and stuff like that for concerts and things. So he dropped it and went to pick it up. Oh, it's doing it again, something like that. Come on, Louisiana. And it wasn't doing anything from my perspective. I was looking at the light, it wasn't doing anything. And I questioned, I said, well, it doesn't look like it's on. What do you mean? He's like, oh no, it goes into this setting sometimes. And he's like, and this setting makes people panic. And I thought, well, that's peculiar. I said, what's the setting called? He's like, well, in this frequency range, in this particular band, he's like, it promotes anxiety and it causes fear and panic in people. And I said, well, he had some name for it that was gibberish, and I tried to clarify the name in the dream, but I couldn't get it. I couldn't get him to say it in a way that I could understand it in English or anything like that. But so that woke me up. I don't know what happened after that, but I woke up and had that feeling, like, man, I should get up and write this down. I should do something about this. And I've written dreams down before, and usually after giving them some thought, I sort of can pull out pieces that were the important parts of the dream, the highlights of the dream, and I can sort of map them onto what's been going on in my life. This frequency thing is something that's really intriguing me in chemistry and physics. And so the idea that our emotions, our psychological patterns, our moods, our thoughts are all influenced by frequency, by whether it's light frequency entering our eyes, or matter. If I touch something solid, that matter is condensed to a particular frequency. If I hear sound, the sound of my own voice, I'm passing air across my vocal cords, and my vocal cords tune that air to a specific frequency, and my ears receive that particular frequency as the sound of my voice. So those frequencies, all of that input, is generating a response in our minds. And I'm wondering if this research has already been done, and I would really appreciate feedback if this triggers something in your mind. My wife said something this morning about people who are especially sensitive to Wi-Fi and 3G networks, that it causes them pain, anxiety, etc. And they've had to move to areas where there are no phone towers, there are no Wi-Fi connections and things like that. So it is something that we can pick up. But in the same way that I talked about us having those psychological blind spots, it's like wearing blue blockers and trying to see blue. We're blind to it. So it's something that we are receiving, but perhaps due to decreased sensitivity or something, we are not aware of the signals that we're receiving. So here's the question, and more or less what got me thinking about this. I'll do a quick breakdown of wavelength while I'm stopped here at this light. So if I have a particular wavelength and I layer another wavelength directly on top of it, those two wavelengths will amplify one another. So I have a wavelength that is a unit of 1 high, and I take another wavelength and layer it on top at the same amplitude. They will amplify one another, and I'll now have one single wave that is 2 units in amplitude. If I take the same wavelength and the same second wavelength and I offset them by 1/2 their wavelength, I get a cancellation. So that's called destructive interference, and the prior one where they amplify one another, that's constructive interference. You construct a larger wave, or you can destroy the initial wave. So that's the way noise canceling headphones work. I put those noise canceling headphones on. They have a microphone that detects background ambient noise, and they will play a tone or a white noise at the same frequency as the sound that's coming in, and you get a deadening effect, cancellation. So back to the question. If it can be demonstrated that our mood is affected by frequencies of sound, frequencies of light, which I believe it already has been established, I just haven't read the literature to guarantee it in my mind and be able to say that with confidence. If that also leads to an output, something from our consciousness that tells us this is anxiety, this is pain, this is stress, this is fear, this is happiness, love, ecstasy, etc. Can those particular emotions be linked to a specific wavelength of output? So I get the input from light, let's say, my brain generates a signal to my nervous system. That signal should be transmitted at a specific amplitude and a specific wavelength and a specific frequency. Our neuronal networks more or less work like sodium-potassium pumps. That's more information than you need. If that's true, if those emotions can be linked to specific wavelengths, can we use specific wavelengths to destroy undesirable wavelengths and amplify desirable wavelengths? Can I use a specific frequency of light? Can I use a specific frequency of sound to amplify love, to amplify happiness, well-being, contentment, centeredness, enlightenment? Think of a positive feeling. Can a specific frequency of input exacerbate that feeling? And in the same way, could I target stress and fear and anxiety, and could I cancel out those feelings? I'm interested to hear your thoughts about this, and I'm confirming my own biases with little tidbits of information that I've read here. But let's say that hypothesis is true, that the output that generates our emotions can be manipulated with stimuli. I can see 2 ways that could be used. Like any technology is inherently neutral. It's the use of technology that gives it meaning, let's say. So a cell phone is a tremendous piece of technology. I can use it to prank call someone, or I can use it to call someone and tell them I love them. A gun. I could use a gun to deter crime, or I could commit crime. So the technology itself is neutral. The way I use it gives it value, gives it meaning. if these frequencies of sound and light can be used to tinker with our emotions, and I could, let's say, have a radio broadcast, or if I could broadcast a signal from a cell phone tower, or I could broadcast a signal into your living room via television, or I could broadcast a signal in a theater with that immersive experience, or a concert. Could I amplify fear? Should I choose to do evil with that power, could I amplify resentment, discontent, confusion, anxiety, stress? Yes. Could I amplify happiness and cooperation and unity and well-being and a sense of belonging? Yes. I think there are at least three people smarter than me on campus that I need to go and talk to about this, professors. And I don't know, maybe I'll have some more information to give you about it, but I don't know if I have time to read about it over the next 2 weeks. It's finals time. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. If any of that stuff's unclear, send me a message and I'll clarify. But I would really appreciate some feedback if you guys know anything about brainwave modulation or signal amplification. Slide in my DM. We'll see you.